Arturia is probably best known for their spot-on emulations of vintage synthesizers and classic keyboards, but a few years ago they started to apply their modeling expertise, dubbed TAE, or True Analog Emulation, to the world of classic effects processors. They released a few small bundles of emulated vintage studio processors. Each consisted of 3 classic processors or effects, marketed as 3 processors you'll actually use. When they'd released 5 of these mini bundles, they put them all together into a single larger bundle, the FX Collection, which was then augmented with 7 additional processors and renamed the FX Collection 2. The FX Collection 2 consists of 7 groups of 3, in one case 4, processors each. The preamp group includes models of 3 classic preamp EQ combinations. There's the Pre-1973, an emulation of the Neve 1073, famous for its warm, transformer-based sound and musical EQ. The Pre-Tride-A takes on the preamp EQ section from the rare Trident A-frame console. And the Pre-V76 models a true vintage classic, the Telefunken V76 tube preamp, long associated with classic recordings made in Abbey Road Studios, coupled with the even rarer companion V612 EQ section for some real vintage tube warmth. The Compressor group models 2 familiar vintage compressors, plus a lesser-known but great-sounding classic. All provide loads of analog character. The Comp FET76 models the fast, edgy, FET-based compression character of the URI 1176 compressor. And the Comp VCA65 offers the classic, tight VCA character of the DBX 165. Instead of rounding this trio out with the usual LA2A model, Arturia chose to emulate the Gates Stay-Level tube compressor with their Comp Tube STA, or Tube Stay. That classic compressor is kind of like a cross between an LA2A and a Fairchild, with plenty of tube warmth and smoothness, and Arturia's version of it is possibly the best compressor of the bunch. The 3 delay plugins offer 2 classic models and 1 modern delay. The Delay Memory Brigade is an emulation of the Electro-Harmonix Deluxe Memory Man, offering the warm sound of the original's Bucket Brigade circuitry, while the Delay Tape 201 takes on the famous Roland RE201 Space Echo, whose tape-based delay character has been heard on hundreds of recordings. For the third delay, however, Arturia chose to create their own modern digital delay effect from scratch. While it may have taken its inspiration from classic digital delays, the Delay Eternity offers far more creative possibilities than just basic delay effects. Arturia's collection of filters is comprised of 3 filter sections from 3 classic analog synths. But they're not just emulations of the filter modules on those synths. Arturia turned to their own synth emulations and brought along sequencers, envelopes, and LFOs, making each plugin a virtual synthesizer processing section for any audio source. The Filter Mini is based on the classic Moog 4-pole ladder filter, as found in the Mini Moog and other Moog classics, famous for its warm, fat sound. Filter SEM is Arturia's take on the distinctive filter from the Oberheim SEM, and Filter M12 offers another Oberheim design, the filter section from the classic Matrix 12 synth. There are 3 reverbs. Again, 2 are emulations of classic hardware verbs, and 1 is a modern algorithmic reverb of Arturia's own design. Rev Plate 140 brings the shimmering sounds of the EMT 140 plate reverb, while Rev Spring 636 emulates the Grampian 636 spring reverb, plus several classic spring reverb tanks, with the characteristic boing that springs provide. Rev Intensity is Arturia's own design, an algorithmic reverb with a lot of extra features that can take it from basic, rich-sounding reverb to reverb-based special effects. The FX Collection 2 adds 4 modulation processors and 3 bus processors. The 4 modulation processors include the Chorus Dimension D, which brings the rich analog chorus sound of the Roland Dimension D chorus, and the Chorus June 6, which adds the distinctive chorus effect from the Roland Juno 6 synthesizer. The Flanger BL20 is based on the Bell BF20 flanger, and the Phaser Bitron is an emulation of the Mutron Biphase, a classic dual phaser from the 70s. The FX Collection 2 is rounded out with 3 bus processors, which are meant to be used on a full mix, but are equally capable of enhancing individual tracks as well. The EQ Citral 295 is a model of the Siemens W295 EQ, a classic EQ from the 70s with a lot of analog character. The Comp Diode 609 is an emulation of the Neve 33609 diode bridge compressor, a stereo bus compressor with a distinctive edge. And the Bus Force master bus processor is Arturia's own design, incorporating EQ, filter, compressor, and saturation sections, along with flexible routing options for a comprehensive all-in-one bus processing solution. Most of the plugins have two sections: the basic controls, as found on the original hardware, and a drop-down panel of advanced controls that offer features not found on the original units, but which add welcome modern convenience and additional creative possibilities. I'll cover both basic and advanced features of each effect as I go through the plugins, but first I'm going to take a look at the common elements found in all the plugins in the next video.